In 2020, the planes stopped flying, but the miles kept moving. United borrowed $6.8 billion against Mileage Plus. Delta raised $9 billion against SkyMiles. American later completed a $10 billion financing sponsored by AAdvantage. 3 airlines raised roughly $26 billion, not against aircraft, terminals, or fuel, but against loyalty schemes. That presents an awkward question. If the planes were grounded, what exactly were lenders betting on? The answer is that a contemporary airline is not merely conveying passengers. Behind the flight plan lurks a second business, one that generates a private currency, sells it to banks, collects cash from everyday card usage, and promises travel later. It looks remarkably like a bank, and in certain years, it may be more dependable than the airline wrapped around it. The visible airline industry is painfully straightforward. An airline buys or leases aircraft, hires pilots and cabin crews, pays airports, maintains engines, purchases fuel, runs reservation systems, and moves thousands of people through a network that can be disrupted by weather, war, labor shortages, mechanical failures, or one bad software update. Its inventory also expires every minute. When a hotel room goes empty tonight, it can be sold tomorrow. When an aircraft door closes with seat 27A empty, that seat is gone forever. Even when the industry is doing well, the margin is thin. IATA estimated that global airlines produced a net margin of about 3.9% in 2025, roughly $7.90 of profit per passenger. That is not much protection against a sudden rise in fuel, a wage settlement, a closed airspace, or a collapse in demand. And yet millions of people earn airline miles without stepping onto an aircraft. They earn them buying groceries, paying restaurant bills, booking hotels, sometimes simply opening a credit card. This is where the hidden business begins. Suppose a bank issues a credit card carrying an airline's name. The cardholder spends money and receives miles. Those miles do not appear from nowhere. The bank buys them from the airline under a long-term commercial agreement. The bank is not buying transportation immediately. It is buying a package, miles, access to the airline's brand, marketing rights, customer benefits, and a relationship with travelers who may become valuable cardholders. The airline receives cash now. The customer may redeem the miles much later. That timing matters. A normal ticket creates revenue once. A co-branded card can generate value every time its owner buys fuel, lunch, furniture, or a laptop. The customer may fly 3 times a year, but the card can interact with the airline's economics hundreds of times. Delta shows the scale. In 2025, it received $8.2 billion in remuneration from American Express. Delta says that figure could reach $10 billion over the next few years. This does not mean all $8.2 billion is immediate profit. Airline accounting divides the payment among several obligations. Some revenue is recognized for marketing and use of the brand. Some is attached to benefits such as lounge access or checked bags, and part is deferred until the customer redeems miles and actually flies. But the cash arrives before much of the travel is delivered. That gives the loyalty program a financial quality the flight business does not have, recurring cash connected to consumer spending rather than only to ticket demand. Now look at the exchange from the bank's side. A bank wants customers who spend heavily, pay annual fees, keep accounts for years, and choose its card at the moment of purchase. Travel rewards are powerful because they convert ordinary spending into an emotional asset. $100 of cash back feels like a discount. $100 of points can feel like the beginning of a trip. The airline supplies that dream. The bank supplies the distribution and the credit relationship. Together they create a currency whose perceived value can be higher than its eventual cost. That last part is critical. When miles are redeemed, the airline owes a reward. But the cost of fulfilling that reward depends on when and where the customer flies. Putting an award traveler into a seat that would otherwise leave empty can cost far less than the retail price of the ticket. But putting that same traveler into the final available seat on a sold-out flight carries a real opportunity cost. So airlines manage availability, vary redemption prices, encourage off-peak travel, and estimate how many miles will never be redeemed at all. The program is not magic. It is controlled liability management. Delta ended 2025 with about $9.3 billion in loyalty program deferred revenue. That number represents a promise still waiting to be fulfilled. It is valuable cash, but it is not free money. The system works because customers do not all redeem at once. Not all seats have equal value, and the airline controls the price of rewards. It also works because loyalty changes behavior. A passenger with a large mileage balance is less likely to compare every flight as a completely fresh decision. The airline card may offer a free checked bag, priority boarding, lounge access, or help toward elite status. Leaving the airline now means abandoning progress already accumulated. That makes the loyalty program more than a reward scheme. It is a switching cost machine, and the customer relationship can be nearly as valuable as the miles. Airline agreements can allow the card partner to market through the airline's brand and customer channels. The airline knows where members travel, how frequently they fly, which benefits they use, and how they respond to offers. It is not simply selling points, it is monetizing attention, aspiration, and habit. Then came the pandemic, and the difference between the two businesses became impossible to ignore. In the third quarter of 2020, United's passenger revenue was down 84% from the previous year. Aircraft were parked, international networks collapsed, cash was disappearing daily, but Mileage Plus still had members, a recognized brand, a long-term relationship with Chase, and future cash flows tied to card spending. United borrowed $6.8 billion against the program. Delta raised $9 billion against SkyMiles. American raised $10 billion against AAdvantage. Investors were effectively saying that even if flying temporarily failed, millions of customers would continue using cards, earning miles, and planning future travel. The loyalty program was not a side feature anymore. It was collateral. That was the clearest proof of the hidden margin. When the physical airline became nearly unusable, the promise of future travel remained financeable. But this model has a weakness, and it is larger than the risk of customers redeeming too many free flights. The hidden bank is not actually owned by the airline alone. The airline controls the miles and the travel experience, but the bank controls the card, the credit account, and much of the spending economics. The valuable cash stream depends on a partnership and on the bank continuing to believe that the airline's brand attracts profitable customers. At Delta, substantially all cash sales from loyalty marketing agreements are tied to American Express. United's most important mileage sale contract is with Chase. American is moving towards Citi as the exclusive U.S. issuer of its co-branded cards. That concentration creates a quiet point of failure. If card economics weaken, if regulation changes the value of rewards, if consumer spending falls, or if a banking partner negotiates harder, the airline cannot replace billions of dollars as easily as it can add a baggage fee. There is a second pressure inside the same weakness: customer trust. Airlines can protect themselves by raising the number of miles required for a flight, restricting award availability, or reducing benefits. Financially, that lowers the burden of the promise. Psychologically, it tells members the currency is not stable, pushed too far, and the customer stops treating miles as an asset. The card becomes less attractive. Spending moves elsewhere. The bank values the partnership less, and the high-margin engine begins to weaken from both sides. This is the central contradiction. The program becomes profitable because the airline controls the currency. But the currency remains valuable only while customers trust the airline not to use that control too aggressively. A strong loyalty program therefore needs both scarcity and generosity. Redemptions must cost the airline less than the cash it collects, but they must still feel valuable enough to shape behavior. The best airlines understand that the award seat is not merely a cost, it is proof that the entire currency works. The worst version of the model treats members as a liability to be minimized. It sells more miles, makes them harder to use, crowds lounges with card benefits, and slowly converts loyalty into resentment. For a while, the cash can still look excellent. Then the emotional contract breaks. So, is every airline secretly a bank? Not exactly. The airline usually does not make the loan or carry the card balance. The banking partner does that. But the airline creates a currency, sells it in bulk, manages its redemption value, collects cash before delivering the reward, and uses customer behavior to support a recurring financial ecosystem. The aircraft makes the promise believable. The credit card monetizes the promise every day, and that changes how the airline should be understood. Flying is still essential. Without a useful network, desirable destinations, and a trusted travel experience, the miles eventually lose their meaning. But the flight may no longer be the only product. It is also the reward inventory supporting a much broader business. The plane is what customers see. The loyalty program is what the bank sees. And when the flying business is at its weakest, that hidden financial engine may be the most valuable thing the airline owns.